Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So tomorrow night, after Havdalah, is the first night of Pesach, at which we will sit down and conduct, what do we call it? The Seder, exactly. And we have a whole bunch of steps in the Seder. The Haggadah, the book, guides us through each one of those steps, all the way from Kadesh until we are Nitzach at the very end, page after page, precisely following the order. And is this really necessary? I mean, do we actually need an order? Do we need a Seder? Because indeed that word Seder comes from the root word of order. In fact, it's the same root word as Sidur, which is the order of our service. Do we need the order? I mean, after all, you sit down with your family and you are there to celebrate Pesach, and you've got the matzah and you've got the maror and you have your haroset there on the table and you've got some wine. What do you need the book for? To tell you that we left Egypt? We know we left Egypt. To tell us that God is great? We know God's great. Can't we just have dinner and chat about it during the meal? Do we need to have that delay that leads us to the question, most important, when do we eat, on everybody's mind? What is the benefit of having a Seder, after all? Anybody kind of answer for me, or shall we just chuck the Haggadah out the window and to go free verse?
An educational process.
Well, it's an educational process. Bernie, how old are you? How much more educating do you need through the Seder? You don't have to actually...
I'll continue reading Torah as well.
You'll continue reading Torah as well. Yes, but the Torah actually will be teaching us new things until the end of days. And the Torah, well, we actually are learning new things each time that we go through it. But the Seder, when was the last time you learned something new at your Seder? And if the answer is not last year, then do you really need the Seder? Do you really need that order? I heard a yes in the back. Yes?
Yes.
All right, so we got a lot of Seder folk. Now, I know I'm talking to a particular group of people. After all, you are the people who chose to come to services the night before Passover. You are people who are going to be more orderly in how you approach things on life, at least on average. And I know you're probably all thinking, oh, not me, man. I do all sorts of wild stuff. But trust me, you're here. Other people aren't. You are already in a special category. So whatever you evaluate yourself as, you are among the more orderly folks. Are you...
Isn't part of the purpose of the Seder because it's communal observance, so it's communal remembrance of the things that happened as...
It's communal observance, it's communal remembrance, but I can remember it without having to flip page after page after page. I mean, why not? I mean, look, let's get an example. We've got Thanksgiving, right? Here in the United States, we've got Thanksgiving every year. Do we need a Seder for Thanksgiving? Do you actually have to sit down and go through however many pages you get for your Thanksgiving Haggadah? And then lo, the pilgrims did X and Y. I mean, no, everybody's like, what are you grateful for? And we go, oh, I'm thankful for this. Great. Start carving. Right? We get down to the meat of the event very quickly. And over dinner, maybe, if we're so inclined, we can continue to share thoughts and reflections and ideas as we continue to pass the gravy. What are we gaining from the Seder of Pesach that we don't get from Thanksgiving that lacks that same order? I thought I saw a hand over here.
The Seder, what it does remind us that our history, that first before Abraham we were idolaters. With Abraham we came to know the true God, and then there was the promise that we're going to become slaves and that God was going to deliver us. And that is a reminder that throughout the ages we're going to be subjected to oppression, and that there is this promise that Abraham had, that it applies, that God is going to deliver us, and that the story is timeless, that it goes from the Inquisitions, the Nazis.
The story is timeless in every generation. We should see ourselves as we are there. In every generation, oppressors arise and God saves us anew. Do I need a book to tell me that every time before I'm eating? Don't I already know? A reminder is something that you get when you already know something. So why do we need the reminder?
Yeah, so the reminder, I believe, is there because we are humans and we can definitely forget. But the book has the structure, Seder, right?
As an order.
Has the structure, not only to teach us, but to also to help us teach the younger generation, which probably will forget more frequently than Bernie and I could forget.
Definitely the Seder is an educational experience uniquely designed for younger generations. The whole way that we do things differently to pique their interest and to force them to ask questions is all absolutely essential to that. But I'd like to come back to your opening statement about we are human, because I think this is something that we often forget. I know, who can forget you're human? Every day you wake up and you're like, I'm human, because that's why things hurt in the morning, right? But humans also do tend to drift. That is to say, if you've ever seen experiments where someone tries to walk in a straight line with their eyes closed, right, with a blindfold on, nobody can do it. You cannot maintain a perfect straight line with your eyes closed, with a blindfold on. You can go home and try it with the help of a friend, don't do it in traffic, but you will begin to veer. And you will not know that you have begun to veer. No matter how carefully you are trying to measure your steps and the degrees in which you are deviating left and right, you will eventually drift. We have an order, not just in our Siddur, but in our Seder, because there are certain things that we must ensure we do not drift away from. There are certain truths that are found within the Seder which may not resonate with us on any given year, but which we still need to go back to refresh ourselves, to reconnect to, even if it's not at the top of our mind, so that throughout the next year it will be there for us and we will have course corrected during that moment. And at some point, every element of the Seder will be a special milestone for us. We can't predict when it's going to be halach ma'anya, or when it'll be avadim hayinu, or when it will be dayenu, of which year, which moment it's going to click in a way that is unique and give us a flash of insight. But by including all of the elements of the Seder, we are ensured that we have not drifted from its key messages, themes, and insights, which as humans we are prone to do when left to our own devices. I mean, after all, even those of you who maybe do start off your Thanksgiving with let's all hold hands and say something we're thankful for, may have noticed that over time it tends to get a little more shvach, tends to not be quite as passionate, tends to not be quite as long, and many people are just sort of phoning it in. And while it is true that many people will phone in their Seder this year, by following the entirety of the order of the Seder, that phone call is long enough to create a certain amount of direction, a certain amount of certainty. The power of entropy in this world, both within our memory as well as within the world around us, can only be combated by effort, can only be combated by putting energy into an activity which creates structure and order. This is something that God taught us from Genesis 1, with the creation of the world out of chaos, that there has to be energy in order to create shape and order, and that energy has to be replenished. The Seder gives us the framework to translate that energy into a comprehension of what happened, of what is happening, and what will happen, of where we were, of where we are, and where we will be. Without that structure, we will drift. Without that structure, chaos will take hold, not only within our world, but within each one of us. And so, embrace the Seder because it is our lifeline, our anchor chain.
So I don't know if you have perspective on this, if anyone does, but like I know that I always feel better in my personal life when I am focusing on a closer relationship to God. But when you drift, sometimes it gets to be so much like physical pain from like what you're not spiritually doing, that you lose the kavana, you lose the joy, the intention in it, even though like you know that's what's helping you to be better. So I don't know what you would say to that?
So the short answer for everyone, in case you couldn't quite hear, is that sometimes the drifting will put us in a place where we are now reluctant to even engage. And that puts us into a spiral almost. Even if we know that this is where we should be, that this is the lifeline that we should be pulling ourselves along, we now almost feel like, we can't make that journey. And then again, the Seder is what tells us each year, no journey is too hard. No redemption is impossible. No miracle is inconceivable. That everything can happen, and that the difficulties that we face, the crises that we have, that we cry out and we reach, and maybe not in the ways we expected, but in a way, some form or another, we will begin to take steps to leave that moment of Egypt. And hopefully we will all find that path in this new year to come. And yes, this is a new year as well. Judaism has quite a few of them. But that's a whole nother conversation.